Hi everyone, David Maley here, and today I'm going to show you how to do correlation analysis with a program called Rattle. Now if you look right behind here on the screen, you see here's the Rattle program itself, and it's like a separate window that opens up, and behind it is R, the 64-bit version of R, and I've loaded in Rattle, and here's how you load it in. You can see right there, create the library and load it in. And then I'm left with this right here. This pops up, and what's great about this tool is I can go and load in a data set like I have here and quickly get a correlation analysis on it without much programming or coding, which you would normally have to do in Rattle, or I mean in R. So what you can see here is I've loaded in this file called day.csv. It's a comma delimited file, and you can see where I got this from. It's just a regular data set from the internet on rental or bike rental user data. You can go and look at my other videos. I'll show you exactly where to get it from, how to load it in, and all of that. But in this video, I'm loading it into Rattle right here. I have it right here. I've selected it from my video or from my files right here. Hit open. And then what I've done under here is I've set it to be the target to be count because I want to specify or hone in on having user rental data as my main target. And I've taken casual and registered and put them to ignore, and the reason being is those two equal count. So casual plus registered equals count. So I don't need to have these two if I'm using that. And I've also set day to day as ignore, and the rest are all set to input. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave everything else the same here. Make sure I have day file here, and I've got my separator as comma, and I'm going to leave the rest, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit execute, and you'll see down here at the bottom it's now read it in, and it has 731 total observations. You could use any data set with this, it doesn't matter, and 12 input variables. Okay, and obviously it says 12 because we've removed some of the total to be ignored. The target is CNT, and regression models are now enabled. If it doesn't say that, you have to run it again and reselect your variables to make sure they'll work for that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Explore tab here, and under Explore you can see there's correlation, summary, distributions, principal components, and interactive. I want correlation. Now under correlation I can choose, it automatically chooses ordered. I can explore missing if I want. That's for variables where there's, columns where there's some missing information in them. I can explore that if I want. And I can also change the hierarchical method if I wish. So I could change it from Pearson to Kendall or Spearman. I'm going to leave it at Pearson. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit execute. So we've got the data all set the way we want. And I'm going to go to explore correlation, make sure order's checked and nothing else is. I'm going to hit execute. And when I hit execute, bam. There we go. We've got, this shows up. This is a correlation plot. Let me open this up a little bit better for you here. That shows the variables plotted against each other. And obviously in the middle, anything close to the middle is a one-to-one relationship, which is what we want, a very positive relationship. So you can see things like, obviously wind speed against itself is going to be a one-to-one. But what we're looking for is positive things like weather sit versus hum right here, humidity. What we're looking for is also, look at this, see how in a previous video I explained how temperature and feeling temperature, which is a temp, are very closely correlated, and you can see that right here. They are very closely correlated, very high correlation. What I'm looking for though is things like year and instant, month and instant, month and season, instant and year, and you can see those have high correlations. So anything that's a big circle and a dark color is what we want here. So you can see that here, but let me go and pull the screen back up, and this also shows us all of the values for this correlation, which is kind of neat. And what we want to do is you want to look down here, and let's go down here. We can see where there's temperature, a temp right here, and you can see count, which is, let's see, where is it? Actually, count did not come through on this one, but you can clearly see that, like here, see this 1.0, you can see the high correlation values here, and So actually to see count, sometimes this happens. This is a good thing to see this here, because what we want to do is go back to data. If you run it as a target when you do the correlation, we might have to go and switch that back to an input temporarily. Now let's execute that, and let's go back to Explore, and let's go back to correlation, and let's execute it again and watch. Let's see now if the count, there it is. So what you see here with Rattle is there's a little trick you have to do. If you want to see a value come through the correlations and it's not, it's probably because you have to select it as a target or you have to select it as ignore. So in this case, to see it, I have to deselect it from target and select it as a regular input variable, which I have done. So now it shows up and you can see count, and what you're looking for is high correlations between various things. Okay, so for instance, count and a temp, count and temperature. So they have a high, they're not a 1, but they're above 50%. So they're a fairly good correlation that you can work with and get some good values from. So that's what you do with that. You can also go and look at the graphs, which you can see here. If I can move this here a little bit. And the graph again shows you exactly what I was telling you. It shows you quickly on a colorful basis, you know, which items, which variables have high correlation values and may be worth looking into. So anything with a large circle in it, a large dark circle in it, because it gets closer to 1, or anything with a large red circle, especially a dark red circle, because that gives you a negative correlation, which can be very helpful to see that as one variable increases, the other variable has a marked decrease in relation to it. That can be very helpful in correlation analysis also. So basically this shows you quickly how to do it without any formulas, any coding in R. All I did was load in Rattle and I ran it, and you can quickly see here again where the data set is. Okay, and this is really helpful, these correlations, because I'm going to use this in building a model, which I'll show you in my next video. And this is where you can start getting into predictive analytics and trying to understand exactly how, you know, Wall Street figures out, how these analysts in Wall Street try and figure out where the market's going to go in a week, in 2 weeks, in a year, in a month. You know, where's Bitcoin going? What they do is they get the data they can from the past and current, and then they plug it in, and then they go and look for correlations on that data. Now, their analysts may look for formula correlations, or they may use a program like Rattle or other programs. SAS has some programs also that can do this. And you can quickly figure out exactly, you know, you just have to make sure you go back and take, like in this case, our target, we have to go and make it a target again, and then rerun it, because if we don't have a target variable for this in our model. We just have to remove it from the target to have it show up for the correlations. As you can see right here, we have the correlations behind us. You know, you got count and temperature right there, has some big blue ones there, right there at about the 0.6, which is what we showed in the data over here under count and a temp. Right there, those two, 0.63. So that's about right. So that's something you want to look into as a correlation, is temperature, maybe humidity. Humidity's right there is a blue. Month and season obviously has that. But you can look at these also in tweaking your model. Once you've created a model, a data model that you want to utilize, you may want to, you know, it might come out with 75% confidence or accuracy. You may want to get it up to 80, 85%. So you can expand on these variables and, you know, seasons or month, and you can take month and explode it out into 12 different months, and then you can go and see how that's going to affect the data, because each month's different. So maybe you have months with higher demand and lower demand, which most businesses and niches do, and this is where correlation comes into that. You don't want to go and do that with something that doesn't have a correlation, a good correlation value. So for instance, the correlations like this, humidity versus temperature, it might be a little less, but it's still there. We're going to show you that in some other videos. Humidity can still play a role, but it's not as strong of a role as count and temperature would be. So temperature has a very strong effect on rentals versus humidity not as strong. And then you can look at other things like the working day. Does the working day have, or wind speed have a effect on the rentals? Well, you could look count. It does, and you see here it does have a red, but it's a very light colored 0.2. So you can look at that, but it may not have as strong a relationship. So you want to stick with the big circles here in this case, or the larger numbers that are closer to 1, or like we were showing the other one, the circles with the bigger circles with the negative relationships, and you can see those, so they would have a negative, closer to a -1 value. As you can see here, you can do it either way, but Rattle makes this very simple and easy to use, and then you can take these values and you can hone in on these in your model, which makes it really neat and easy to do. And then you just plot these out for your users and show them, hey, here's the relationships, this is why. And I will go into that in our next video. We're going to build the actual model, and then we're going to go into tweaking the model and improving upon it to get higher confidence and accuracy. Thanks again for watching. I hope you found this helpful. This is how to do a correlation analysis quickly with Rattle and R. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, like down below, and please leave me your comments. I love to hear from my viewers and subscribers. Thanks again, and have a great day.